Jags and the Broncos. What an afternoon game that we have here. I don't know how many people looked at this one even before the season. And even if you like the Jags and the Broncos, we're saying that this is game of the week caliber stuff, but it absolutely is. Two of the hottest teams in the NFL. Two offenses that feel like they're firing on all cylinders with defenses that are playing pretty damn well as well. We had to get our guy Teron Armstead in to talk about the trench matchup here for this one. Let's hear what Teron had to say. All right, Teron, we were just talking before we hit record here. Out of nowhere, a game of the week caliber game here between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Denver Broncos. I know there's a lot of other heavy hitters that we got this week, but this game specifically, it feels like it represents a change in things, a change in the AFC, a change in the AFC West, right? And these teams are rising to the top, and there's even some potential number one overall seed implications here on the line. Before we get into the tackle matchups, because I think the Broncos offensive tackles going up against the Jags defensive ends is a big talking point in this game that I got to pick your brain about. I want to talk about the run game, because I've been talking on this show for, feels like the last couple of months. When we talk about Liam Cohen, yes, the first thing that people talk about is Trevor Lawrence. What's he going to do with Trevor Lawrence? And Trevor Lawrence looks great as of late. But I feel as though Cohen was so good when he was in Tampa Bay, and he's so good now in Jacksonville about making the run game efficient to really complement the passing game. So I wanted to ask you, what goes into a good run game? You know, I think that people just blanketly say like, oh, the run game's got to be better. Oh, the run game's fixed. What goes into that from an offensive line perspective? Talk to me about the traits, the things that are paramount for having a good zone blocking scheme, a good power blocking scheme. What goes into just having a good run game from the offensive line?
Yeah, Trev, it's so many variables that goes into a quality run game. And one added bonus is elite quarterback play. So the fact that Trevor Lawrence is playing the way that he's playing, that takes a guy out of the box. That takes a safety out of the box. So now you're starting to run into favorable looks. So just that alone to start, that's helping the entire run game, the entire process. And everything else that goes into a great run game, we always look at the O-line as the reason why the run game isn't working. But that's not always the case. Most times, the big runs comes from your receivers. The blocking on the perimeter. So what I'm seeing from the Jacksonville Jaguars are those guys have bought in. They made trades, they made moves. They got guys in the lineup now. Those guys have bought in to taking care of the edge, going to dig out safeties, going to dig out corners. That's what make the long runs. That's how you get the big ones. And up front, those guys are bought in. They're bought in. They're moving people. It's a guy out of the box now because of the new deep threats and the way Trevor Lawrence is seeing the field. Jacksonville they have balance, the ultimate balance that you look for in offense. They are operating with that balance.
I think it's a great way to put it. And, you know, I think earlier in the season, you know, for example, you got a guy like Parker Washington who's really standing out at the wide receiver spot for Jacksonville. People are like, man, what, you know, he's on the field all the time. They're using him all the time. Well, he's on the field, I think, because of what you said. Like, he's scrappy. He's feisty. He'll block. You know, you go get a guy like Jacoby Myers and people talk about, oh, okay, you know, he's a possession wide receiver, a good guy in the receiving game, but he's another dude. He'll give you everything he's got. He's feisty. He'll block for you. And so I think that's a really great point by you, even taking it beyond the trenches for a great run game. Let's talk about these offensive tackles. So on the other side of things, you've got two studs that Jacksonville has here, Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker as their edge rushers. And they're going up against two really seasoned, great offensive tackles in Mike McGlinchey and Garrett Bowles. First of all, Garrett Bowles, man, let's just talk about him a little bit. This is somebody who, one of the highest graded tackles when it comes to pass blocking numbers that we have this year, has not allowed a sack this season. He's got a tough test against Hines-Allen. So what are you expecting here in this one? What do you expect to see from both of these guys?
Yeah, man, just a lot of productive football from all 40 of these guys. A lot of high level ball that's being played. Garrett Bowles is playing at a really high level, at a Pro Bowl, all pro level, haven't allowed a sack, keeping Bo Nix super clean back there. He's having the best year of his career. I see that continuing. Yeah, Josh Hines-Allen, his superpower is his power, going bull rush speed to power. But I'll also say that's Bowles. That's his identity as well. Being able to have a strong anchor, stop power. He's seeing rushes really well, so he's very rarely out of position. And Bo Nix is hard to bring down as well too. So I see him winning that matchup, keeping Bo clean. On the other side, Trayvon Walker, he's trying to get little bit more momentum and pass rush productivity. Mike McGlinchey hasn't been as clean as Bowles in pass protection, so that matchup can kind of favor Trayvon Walker, but the length that Trayvon Walker presents to most tackles, he won't have that advantage against Mike. So I'll take the Denver tackles in this matchup for sure.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to see this one because normally Jacksonville doesn't really flip these guys too often. So we're going to get a lot of Josh Hines-Allen on Garrett Bowles for this one. Really quickly, on the other side, just because I want to ask you about what it's like going up against a defensive front like the one that the Denver Broncos have, where they can throw a lot of things at you, right? I mean, like Zach Allen's a dude who can go basically line up everywhere on the defensive line. You've got Nick Bonito, who is sort of this like designated pass rusher, but again, like he can line up anywhere. How tough of a job is it for that offensive line to prepare for a defensive line that can throw so many things at you like the Denver Broncos can?
Denver's D-line they're special. This is a special unit where we're watching a historic season, the way that these guys are operating and the way that they play together. So they can line up for a cross and go have their individual matchups. But the way that these guys pick for each other, like the line game, Zach Allen knocking the tackle off, Nick Bonito coming around, and it just makes it really, really, really difficult to game plan and to have a solid protection plan because it's a smart unit, very smart unit. They see slides, they see tight end help, and then they just automatically go into line games and create confusion on one side, and the other side, they're having one-on-one matchups. So it's a really smart unit. Very special, and like I said, they're having a historic season. It will continue. Jacksonville has done a great job. Trevor Lawrence is doing a great job, but that Broncos pass rush, their O-line and D-line for the Broncos is the reason why they're my favorite to go to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC.
Man, I think that's a great shout out by you. Just talking about the football IQ of this defensive line, right? When we talk about defensive linemen or a lot of other positions, I don't think we mention football IQ as quickly as we should when listing the reasons why these guys are playing well. And that's a kudos to them. Kudos to Vance Joseph, their defensive coordinator, who's absolutely in his bag this season. I love the call out there. I love the call out for them to get to the Super Bowl, man. They're playing hot. And if they get there, man, they're going to be one hell of a team because we know that they're going to be riding high. Teron, we appreciate it, my friend.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Big game, Dalton. How you want to preview it? What are you talking about here for this one?
I mean, you talk about on the other side with that Broncos pass rush, getting after Trevor Lawrence. He's going to have to play his best football again this week, and he's been so good over the last 5 games, Trevor. A 90 PFF grade, second best in the NFL. 8.6 yards per attempt is the best in the NFL, and these last 2 numbers, I think, are so big. 12 big-time throws is second in the league, and an 11.3-yard average depth of target, second in the league, which is interesting because the one guy ahead of him in that category is Jordan Love, who the Broncos just beat last week alongside the Green Bay Packers. I just think we've seen this attacking version of Trevor Lawrence more often now lately. 5 straight games with an average depth of target over 10 yards, and they've really figured out the groove as this receiving core has gotten healthy and more complete. Jacoby Myers has been a real good chain mover for them. Brenton Strange, we've talked about how he's added to the versatility of the offense. And then I think Lawrence just taking his chances downfield, especially with Brian Thomas Jr., that's going to be a big factor, especially with as much as the Broncos play man-to-man coverage in this game. I think taking shots downfield is going to be big. I think Lawrence's scrambling ability is going to be a big factor in this game against the Broncos man coverage. This is a fascinating matchup between 2 really hot quarterbacks, and Trevor Lawrence arguably over the last 2 or 3 weeks has played the best football of his career.
I think Chad is right in pointing out how well the Jags offensive line has also played as of late. Cole Van Lanen specifically has been awesome for them. And I think that matchup between him and really anybody on the defensive line, but specifically Nick Bonito, is going to be a fun one to watch. On the Broncos side of things, take a look at that week 15 game that they had last week where it was a thrilling game for Bo Nix, who had some unbelievable throws. He had 5 big-time throws, 4 turnover-worthy plays. And Dalton, they can be broken up very easily and cleanly into 2 different categories. When Bo Nix is on time, throwing the ball between 2 and 3 seconds after the ball is snapped, 96.7 passing grade with 4 big-time throws and 0 interceptions. Now, if you let that time to throw get above 3, drops all the way down to a 52.8 passing grade with 1 big-time throw and all 4 of his turnover-worthy plays coming after 3 seconds. When Bo Nix is on time, it's just a thing of beauty. And the offense, when it is operating on time, on schedule, in rhythm, Bo Nix can be a fantastic, explosive quarterback for you. But when he got in trouble is when the first read wasn't there, maybe the second read wasn't there, and then we saw this on a couple of his turnover-worthy plays. Double clutching, waiting just a second, being late on a throw. That's when he starts to get in trouble. So, can he continue to play on time? Does he have faith and confidence in what he is seeing pre-snap? Sean Payton ready for this Jacksonville Jaguars defense? I think that will be the telltale sign in this game. I'm going to go with the Broncos. 28-27. Coward's way out, 1-point game score here, but I'll take the Broncos to win this one.
I'm going to do the same thing. I think this is an awesome football game between two red-hot quarterbacks, two really good secondaries, especially that are going against those two passers. And I like the Jags' ability to balance things out with Travis Etienne in the run game. I think this is going to be an awesome football game that could come down to one or two mistakes on either side. But we saw a 10-game winning streak end last week in New England with the Patriots at home. I'm going to take the 11-game winning streak for Denver here to end to Jacksonville, 24-23. I'm also taking the Coward's way out there, but I'm gonna stick with Trevor Lawrence on this hot streak here. I'm gonna see if he can go into Denver and keep it going.
I can't wait. That's going to be a fun one.